What's going on, everybody in H-Town, Houston Rockets fans all over the world, NBA fans just chiming in. My name is David Delano, and this is Rockets Daily, brought to you by FanArch. Well, you can let me know if I'm wrong. I believe we're at least the fastest growing Houston Rockets channel on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, keep it that way. Make sure to comment so that you can be a part of this as we're looking to build something great and hopefully talking about a 2026 NBA championship next year for the Houston Rockets. Hopefully this time next year we're talking about what we need to do to have a repeat, but can't get ahead of ourselves. There's a lot of people out there ready to crown the Rockets. We're going to keep the emotion out of it. We're going to talk about what's going on, and more so than anything, I'm just one person here. I want to know from you guys, let's put our minds together, let's brainstorm, let's talk about what's going on, how you feel about the moves. Really exciting time right now to be a Rockets fan, exciting time to be an NBA fan. Hopefully, though, this is not the highlight of our season. We're going to have the NBA Summer League coming on with the Rockets tipping off on July 10th. NBA Draft is in the books, NBA Free Agency, which we've been talking about, and a lot of the names that we've been mentioning on the show are just dropping as we speak. And so we're going to keep on talking about that. There were a couple big signings that I'm sure you know about, and if you don't, we're going to touch on Clint Capella returning to the Rockets. Dorian Finney-Smith, now a Rocket. See if he's looking to have some revenge on the Lakers. Got a story about LeBron James, and I know you can say keep it Rockets content only. I got a story here about LeBron James. Wonder if anybody's ever heard of it. And is it possible, I'm not trolling here, is it possible that LeBron James could ever become a Houston Rocket? And even if it's not, is it possible that, or is there any truth that LeBron considered the Houston Rockets at one point? Definitely going to talk about that. And as I'm going through my segment here in Houston Rockets, or I should say Rockets history here, go ahead, subscribe, definitely would appreciate it. First of all, let's go ahead and talk about this Clint Capella returning to Houston. When we were talking about free agent options and Steven Adams, we've been talking about Fally Dante, all of these different guys. We're talking about Jacques Landale, different free agents. We mentioned Brook Lopez, who's now a Clipper. I didn't think, let me know if you thought different, I didn't think that Clint Capella and Steven Adams would be on this roster next year along with Şengün. I just didn't expect it. NBA, it's interesting when you look at the small ball, and now Rockets definitely getting a priority on rebounds, interior defense, on toughness, on offensive boards. And this really makes me think here. We look at these odds. A lot of people saying the Rockets are the team to beat after the Thunder. A lot of these sports books, and I just mentioned the sports books because they put up odds, and some places you've got the Rockets right now with the second best odds to win the NBA championship over places like BetOnline, for example. But FanDuel actually has not a distant fourth, but they actually have the Rockets behind the New York Knicks and even the Denver Nuggets. And a move here like this, seeing what we're doing right now, the Adams re-signing, the Clint Capella coming back, it really shows. Houston wants to be prepared. Obviously, you want to be prepared for any type of team that you face, but I think that this is a move to definitely match up well against the Denver Nuggets and have as many bodies as you can, as many fouls as you can to throw at Nikola Jokic if it comes down to that. We saw Cam Johnson was a guy that we talked about. Would have been a nice addition to see have. And Cam Johnson has been moved. He's been moved from the Brooklyn Nets over to the Denver Nuggets. As of right now, Western Conference is going to be interesting. Oklahoma City Thunder, still the team to beat. Houston Rockets are working hard to contend. Shows the Denver Nuggets are definitely working hard to contend as well and to go ahead and stay in that mix. But as we look at that, do you believe that the Rockets have done enough so far to ultimately overtake the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference? Or do you still think that we're ahead of the Denver Nuggets. Weren't ahead of the Denver Nuggets last year, so I shouldn't say still. I guess record-wise, didn't go further in the playoffs, and still a lot yet to be proven there. So let me know how you feel about Clint Capella coming back. Obviously, I think that it's a nice move when we look at where the Rockets were with the salary cap. That's Fred VanVleet. Restructuring the contract, it's definitely helped. All the, big pieces coming back. You've got to really love it. Like I said, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks gone, but Kevin Durant in place, and the rest of the core key players still there. Adding depth inside with Clint Capella, and also with Dorian Finney-Smith. Finney-Smith with the Malik Beasley news going on about him being under that, gambling investigation, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, he's not somebody there. And somebody that I talked about, I know I saw Gilbert Arenas was throwing some shade there at Jake LaRavia with the Lakers re-signing him. He was somebody that I definitely had interest in. I thought that he would be a nice fit, but still a young player. And what this is really showing, I believe, getting Dorian Finney-Smith, 4 years, $53 million. More than I expected for him to agree to a deal to come to Houston. But I think it's simple here. You've got a strong young core. You know who the guys are. Got a strong young core here. And what this team is adding, we've got the young players in place to develop, and we're going to add veteran leadership and toughness. And Dorian Finney-Smith, what he does give you, another 3-and-D guy, 32 years old but experienced, 40 career playoff games, 36 career playoff starts, over 41% shooting from three in the playoffs in his career. So this is someone that you know is not going to, you're not expecting to shrink into big moments. 36.8% last year from three-point range in the Lakers playoff series. So adding experience, adding someone who can defend on the wing, 3-and-D. Not really going to distribute, but adding that veteran depth and giving more bodies to go out there. So how do you feel about the Dorian Finney-Smith signing? Not maybe the most sizzle according to some of the things that we've been talking about. And one other thing I want to mention here, and we'll probably touch on this a little bit more later. I'm just asking if you think that there's any truth to this. Is there another big move possibly coming? I mentioned I didn't think that Capella and Steven Adams would both be on the roster along with Şengün next season. Not something that I predicted. But are we going to have all those guys on the roster? Is it possible that Şengün could be moved? I don't want to see that happen, but is it possible for a big piece out there? And one, really, whether you love him, whether you hate him, LeBron James, someone we're going to talk about. You might be wondering, why are we talking about LeBron James here on Rockets Daily? Obviously, it seems very strange that the Houston Rockets and the Los Angeles Lakers would really work together on a trade right now, where it looks like the Lakers are going to be a top nemesis in the West. Lakers are making a lot of interesting moves. Some of the players that I've been mentioning, they've been adding a lot of young pieces, a lot of young offensive pieces there with LaRavia, even what they've done with, we talked about Eric Dixon, some of their undrafted rookie free agent signings. The Lakers have been going young. They've been going with guys who can score. They've been going with guys who can shoot. Rockets more veteran, more defensive focused so far out of the moves that have been made. Now, LeBron James at 40 years old is going to turn 41 years old at the end of December. Rich Paul's kind of stated, who knows how many more years LeBron James is going to play. Looks like he could play 3, 4, 5 more years if he just really wanted to just play. But is this the last season for LeBron James? I don't think it's the last season for LeBron James. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, with the talk about ring culture, I truly believe that LeBron wants to get those 6 rings. Now, as far as legacy and how he does it, and I know with the way people feel in Houston, at least the way I think people feel, let me know as the people. And even if you're not in Houston, even if you're just an NBA fan that's here, that's a Rockets fan, Would you consider it a weak move on either half of LeBron James or the Houston Rockets if LeBron James ever came to H-Town? Now, this is not something that I see happening in the offseason. This is something potentially mid-season or even next season. Kevin Durant, we'll see what happens with the restructuring of his contract. It would be tough with the money to make it happen. I mean, even if you moved, let's say, somebody like a Steven Adams, and you moved Van Fleet and let LeBron James play the point guard, you still have to move some money. You still need to figure out a way to move about $14 million. Why are we talking about this? I got a little bit of a LeBron James story here that I want to share with you guys. And this is not something that I'm just making up. So, after LeBron James's last season with the Cleveland Cavaliers, when LeBron James was a free agent, and there was talk about if he'd go back to Cleveland or if he would leave to Los Angeles or somewhere else. 2018, that summer of 2018, at this time, and this is something I heard back then, I heard from multiple credible sources that LeBron James was considering, or at least people inside the school district believed, that LeBron James was considering coming to the Houston Rockets and considering enrolling Bronny James at Hightower High School in Fort Bend. And it might sound crazy, a lot of you guys, if you don't know Houston, a couple things. That year, there was a freshman, and shout out to Bryce Griggs, wherever he is, if he watches this. There was a freshman by the name of Bryce Griggs, who was one of the top-rated freshmen in the country at that time. He grew up to be about 6'2". He was only about 5'10" at the time. But he had like a Chris Paul-type game at the high school level. Very, very highly rated high school player right around that time of Amani Bates was making a lot of high school waves. I saw Bryce play personally a lot that year, and there were a lot of people going to see Bryce play. He had a very tight relationship with James Harden. James Harden was at several games. Tracy McGrady was at several games. J.J. Watt, Andre Johnson. There were a lot of guys watching Bryce Griggs play. There were a lot of games that were standing room only, a lot of sellouts and things like that. So at that time, with looking for places, and you see that Bronny ended up, when LeBron went to Los Angeles, he went to Sierra Canyon. But there were reports that LeBron James was considering visiting the school, whether it was a hoax, whatever. From my information, LeBron James never actually came and looked at the school, but there were several employees that were there waiting on him and thought that he was coming. So someone communicated, and I'm talking, principals, superintendents, whatnot, were aware of this or believed that LeBron James was interested in coming. So the reason I bring this up is it's not something that I've heard reported from the mainstream media, but to my understanding, LeBron at least kicked the tires on Houston before. Maybe talked to Rich Paul, and they're like, no, you got to go to L.A. You can't go to Houston. We like Sierra Canyon more than. And you look at more of the, place that's Sierra Canyon, is a place in Los Angeles. They have a lot of celebrities' kids. Maybe they're thinking this is not really, for Bronny James. For whatever reasons, just keeping it real, they just decided not to make that move. But will LeBron James consider, at the end of this season, pairing up with Kevin Durant? The Los Angeles Lakers, obviously, they got to figure out Austin Reeves. He declined his option. They're trying to work on an extension with him, or he declined an extension. They got to figure out, obviously, that the future is going to evolve around Luka. If Luka gets hurt, if the season doesn't go the way that it's supposed to, a lot of future first-round picks for the Houston Rockets. Is it possible if you can make the money work? Van Fleet, maybe Finny Smith. Well, I don't see him going back to LA, but if there's a way you can make the money work, if there's a way that you can make the money work, sorry about that, do you consider Does LeBron consider it? Is it something in his mind, or is this just something ridiculous? Could we see LeBron and KD ever playing together? Could we see KD out and LeBron taking place, winning his 5th championship with the Houston Rockets? How would you even feel about that? Is that something that you'd want to see happen? I know that the way that we've been building the culture here under Coach Udoka, a lot of young players, I think that already, I know how a lot of you guys feel about KD. I think a lot of you guys are coming around to it, seeing some of these other moves. But I think having LeBron and KD, or both of them at the end, even if we win a championship, not that a championship would ever be tainted, but would it feel as organic or authentic, even if it's a 41 or 42-year-old LeBron James? If you've ever heard this story before, in the comments, let me know. Sometimes I think there's things that a lot of people don't know, but really, as this channel's growing, well-connected audience. So let me know how you guys would feel about that. And what other, how do you really feel when we're looking at these odds? I mean, still, 2nd to 4th best odds to win the championship, depending on where you're looking, according to these sports books. Have the Rockets done enough? Is there another big move coming? How do you feel about Capella signing? How do you feel about the Dorian Finney Smith signing? And do you think that there's any truth, or would you have any interest in LeBron coming to Houston at any point? And last thing here, we're going to talk about some history, and I'm going to get real brief with this. We're going through the history of the Rockets, and why does it say San Diego Rockets? Because it started as the San Diego Rockets, and this is just something for me I enjoy as we're going to go through here, and we want to start talking about some of the best Rockets of all time, and really one way to really, and not to discredit or disregard any eras, but really look at each season and look at each era and the great players, and really kind of break down not just what we've seen, not just what happened in our lifetime as basketball fans. But I mentioned 15 and 67 first year in San Diego with Pat Riley on the roster. Second year, Rockets improved 22 games, made the playoffs. The 1969-1970 season was really a forgettable season. 14 teams in the NBA. Rockets had the worst record in the league. Started off 1-8, 1-9. Head coach got fired during the middle of the season. Biggest thing on this team, Elvin Hayes starting off with that Hall of Fame career, 27.5 points per game in his second season, getting drafted out of the University of Houston, 16.9 rebounds. He made the All-Star team that year, but this was obviously as an expansion team after making the playoffs in year 2. This was a step back. Still had a young Pat Riley on the roster in his 3rd season with the Houston Rockets. And as we're talking about history, also feel free just to let me know in the comments, what are your favorite Houston or San Diego Rockets moments, however far back you go with the Rockets. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, definitely appreciate it. Let me know in the comments anything on your mind, any other topics. Trust me, I think that things are going to get juicier and juicier around the NBA, and we're going to definitely keep it coming all week long, all off season long. Once again, my name is David Delano. You can follow me on X at Get Sports Strong, and you can see everything going on with this, along with some platforms that I write for as well. Thanks so much for spending some time with me. It's much appreciated. God bless, and let's have a great day.